Okay, so I finally got the transmission mount in here. The bolt holes will line up now, so I can actually put the bolt in there. I did have to grind out quite a bit, but there's still plenty of the bracket, so it's not like there's no support there. Now the holes are a little closer to what the original factory bracket looked like. So I didn't really want to do that, but we didn't really have much of a choice because I didn't want to wait another week for another transmission mount and probably get another one the same way. So we made it work. Well, the transmission mount is in and all torqued down and has some weight on it. I took the jack out that was holding the engine there, so it's actually keeping the twisting from happening. These 4 bolts over here, the 2 on top and that one that are on the side, those ones, the torque on those is going to be 38. I didn't use any anti-seize or anything on here because there was no rust. Original mount, but the bolts all looked brand new. And then one more thing. This one back here, I could not figure out a way to torque that one, so that one I just gave a real good yank with a wrench, about as hard as I could pull it. But these 2 up here were easy. This one here I was only able to do with a crow's foot. So kind of just those 2 on the side, you might just need to yank on a wrench real hard. But the through bolt in the center of the mount, that one is 64. Same there, I did the 64. And then there's a little bolt up top here. I didn't see any torque spec for that, so I just gave it a good crank with the ratchet. Don't get too crazy, there's not a lot of threads there. And then the other thing I did was I pulled the exhaust donut off of the catalytic here. I just pried up in the edge between the pipe and the donut and then pulled it out and down around it, and you can see I kind of like tore out the edge there, pushed in through the bottom there, or I mean the top there, right here, the bottom of the top, and then kind of pried it around, and it came off fairly easy. A little rusty, but it did come off fairly easy. So the engine mount, the rear engine mount is in, and it's all torqued down, and I got the center support, I think they call this, torqued down there. I haven't torqued these 2 closest bolts yet because I can't find a torque spec for them. The other ones on the mount, including the one that goes through the corner of the center support, those are all 48. I'm using anti-seize on those, so I did 34. But I'm gonna probably just end up doing these 2 that I don't have the spec for to the same torque if I can't find anything, but I'm gonna look a little bit more and see if I can find anything for those. And then I'm doing before I get the subframe back up in there, I want to do the seals because this one would be a pain to get to with the subframe right there. So I pulled them out. This is what I used. It's just a slide hammer with a seal puller attachment. Just hook the lip on the edge and then slide your weight back and keep doing it all the way around in a circle and it'll pop out. Mine was a little tough, but I ended up getting it out. But the seals that I ordered, apparently for this year there are different manual transmissions depending on the vehicle, and so the one that I got didn't specify which transmission, just said that it was for this vehicle. So I ordered those and they are the wrong ones. So I had to run to AutoZone and buy some seals there because I was not going to be waiting a week for new seals. So I got the right seals, so I'm going to go ahead and put those in. I'm going to put the sway bar on the subframe there, and I'll probably go ahead and start putting some of this stuff back in here, the battery support and all that, because I got the transmission mount changed, so there's no reason to keep all this stuff out. So I'll go ahead and start putting that back in too, and I'll probably do all of that before I come back. So I'll see you then. Okay, so I got several things to go over. I did end up torquing these 2 bolts. I did them to the same torque as that one, or the bolts for the rear engine mount. I couldn't find a torque spec anywhere in the service manual, so if anybody could find it, leave it in the comments or something, because I can't find it. So because the anti-Cs, I torqued those to 34, otherwise I'd say do them to 48, but those are set. I also did the seals. This one was a little tough to get to under here, but I did get them completely pressed in. I used one of these guys, just make sure that it's big enough to catch the edge of it, and small enough for the bore. This one was a little close. I actually had to tap it back out of the bore because it got stuck. But I'm not the best one to give tips on driving in seals, so I'm sure there's plenty of videos out there, but my tip, if I had one, would just be to tap slow and keep track of which side's going in, and make sure you're hitting the opposite side to straighten it out all the time. That worked for me. I also this was fun, the transmission mount, not transmission mount, the motor mount. This one was a lot of fun. I gotta say, I've never changed a motor mount that was as much of a pain in the butt as this one. It's no joke. There's the 4 bolts for this piece here, the one on the bottom, and then the 3 on the top. The top ones, that center one there, that one is for the top of the mount here. So I took out the old mount, which was not easy. There's all kinds of stuff in the way. There's brake lines in the way up here. There's air conditioning lines, power steering lines. I ended up disconnecting the power steering line to the pump down below and bringing that up here to get it out of the way. I had to remove a couple brackets, and then even down in here, the back screw there, in order to get to that screw or that nut there, there was a screw blocking it. That screw was pretty long. It's this guy right here, and it was, oh goodness, I can't tell where it went now. This one doesn't have it. Oh yes, it does. I'm sorry. Right here. So this screw goes in through this hole, and it's so long that when it's tightened, you can't get to this bolt. So this screw actually blocks it. So you have to take this out, and the only way you can get to that is from under here. And it's not easy by any means. The way that I was able to get it was, without the subframe dropped, I'm not sure how I would have gotten it. It would have been next to impossible. But the way I was able to get it, I kept having to reposition the wrench, and I would get a flat, maybe 2 each turn, and it was difficult to set up for the next one each time, so it wasn't fun. Now, even better, the new mount that I got, the Beck Arnley, not only did I have that problem with the transmission mount with the holes being in the wrong place, this one, when I was installing it, the top hole stripped out. All of the threads inside of that top hole, the threads are completely gone. I did not over torque it. I didn't even get to the torque. I feel like maybe I got to about half the torque, and then it just loosened up, and those threads are toast. I don't think I have the mount out here. I'll show a picture of it in a minute. I gotta send it back, but I ended up finding, I just am returning that one, and I ended up finding it on Amazon So I'm ordering it from Amazon because it'll be here in 2 days, whereas if I ordered it from Rock Auto, I gotta wait 6. So probably what I'll do, I got those seals in. I'll probably take a break for a couple days till I get that and then continue on. But I got the battery tray down in here. Those bolts were a 9. I did the anti-seize, so that would be 9 is equivalent to like 108. So if you reduce that, it was like 76 inch-pounds, I believe. And then up in here, these guys were 44 inch-pounds, and I think I put anti-seize on those guys, and that would have made it like 31, I believe. But I think that's about it. I'll probably actually go ahead and put the airbox and everything up in here, since I'm not going to need to get back into this side. But a lot of it is getting held up by this one here, so hopefully it comes early on Saturday. Okay, so I realized you couldn't see much in there. This is where I was working at back in here, and this is the bracket that was back in there. That was my nightmare. Trying to get to a couple of these screws was nearly impossible because everything was in the way. One of them I had to get to from up here. To be honest, I can't recall which way this goes in there even. It was such a pain to even get to it. I feel like maybe it was this screw, but there was something right next to it. This clip was right next to it, and I couldn't get a turn on it. And then the other one from underneath, that one was a nightmare. That was the one where I had to do just a little, one flat at a time. But maybe you can see back in there, there's not a lot of room. And then you got these brake lines here and these electrical lines, and I even actually broke this guy here, getting the bracket for the motor off. I think they call it the insulator or something, but the bracket that comes from the motor across to the mount, just getting that off of there, I broke that plastic piece, and had to really push on the lines to get them out of the way too. And I think you pretty much have to disconnect that line from the power steering pump, because that was the only way I could get it high enough to clear that bolt there. But this is the mount. You can see in there, the threads are gone. They just ripped. I was torquing it, it was getting tighter, and it was getting tighter, and then it was just completely loose. I really don't feel like I did more than maybe 40 or 60 foot-pounds, and the torque on it's supposed to be 83, and in some places in the service manual it even says 98, but in any case I was nowhere near either one, and they stripped completely out. And this is not a cheap mount. If I was to go to AutoZone, I looked in what the price would be if I bought this at AutoZone. One of these is $230 at AutoZone. But you shop around, you can get it for a lot cheaper. I ended up finding it on Amazon for 80 bucks. I paid about 70 through Rock Auto, but then, another 10, 12 bucks for shipping. So they come out to pretty close to the same. So that's why I'm sending this one back and just ordering one from Amazon, because I don't want to wait a long time. So can't wait for that to get here, because I'm eager to get this done, and this is frustrating. So I'm going to be leaving that motor mount out for a couple days till I get the replacement, but I wanted to show you I do have the motor braced again, this time against the stud there. It is actually above the threads, so it's not going to damage the threads, but these scissor jacks are really handy, so use that, it might help out. And this piece is actually not called the insulator. I guess they must have been talking about the mount itself. This piece is like the right engine mounting bracket or something like that. Another thing that I didn't mention with the scissor jack, what's really handy about it is that you can loosen or tighten it in really small increments, and then you can line up the engine mount a lot easier. Now if you wanted to, you could wrap some wire or some tape around there just to make sure it's not gonna fall, but it's really not going to. It's under tension because the motor wants to twist this way, so it's gonna keep it in there. But so I got the sway bar in, greased up the heck out of the bushings, of course, and I used anti-seize on the bolts. This one is really not torqued very much. The spec on this one is 14 foot-pounds, so if you snugged it down by hand, you probably over torqued it already. But 14 foot-pounds translates to 168 inch-pounds, and for the anti-seize at the 70%, that would be 118 inch-pounds. So that's what I torqued those down to there. And they're kind of interesting because they have like a little plastic plate on the bottom, and that just basically presses up inside the bushing, which pushes the outside out like this. But hey, you know, if it works, it works. And it moves, but it's fairly snug. Okay, confession, guys. This was my first time actually installing hubs, and it's very interesting. I was really worried that I was going too far. I know the hub and the bearing are both curved and have like a stop, but when you look at it, these lug nuts here and the knuckle get really close together. So I felt like I was going too far, and I called my buddy, and he told me it looked good, so I kept going, and I was about almost a half a turn away from bottomed out, so I was right there, but it sure feels like they're close. So things don't always go as planned. This one here, the hub went in nice and smooth. This one here, I am now pressing the bearing out because it cocked on me. I was watching it one way side to side, and it cocked the other, and I didn't notice it, and before I did, it cocked too far and damaged the bearing. So I have to get a new bearing now, press this one out and a new one in, and it was a Timken bearing, which is not cheap, so counting probably 20 bucks to press the old one out and the new one in, that was about an $80 mistake, so that's unfortunate. But I think what I'll probably end up doing at this point is just taking it to a machine shop to have them press the hub in, because I do not want to take a chance of that, and it would be much cheaper to have the machine shop do it than to have that happen again. So you win some, you lose some. So I got my new mount here, and I just was noticing here that this screw on the bolt on the left is the one that came with the new mount, and it's also the same size as the one that I had the problem with the threads on, and the one on the right is the factory one. So I don't know why they shortened the threads, but maybe that had something to do with why that one stripped out. I don't know. But I think I'm going to use the factory one because it does screw all the way down in there. So I'll just use the longer one. And I did get the bearing too, but unfortunately it's Saturday and it was after the machine shop closed. So I will have to wait until Monday to get that pressed out and in. I did try pressing the bearing, and I was not having any luck, but you can see there how it's damaged. The inner race is separated, not on this side but all the way around the other side. So I need to get that pressed out. You know, this tool here, they say not to use impact tools, and you know, maybe it will damage it, but you know, what good is it if you can't do it by hand? I mean, maybe if I can go get this into a big vise, maybe I can get the crank on it, but it takes a lot of force to press a bearing out with that thing. So I don't know. Not sure how I feel about it. Okay, I got the mount in there. I just need to put the top bolt in, so I have to line it up a little bit, but I'm gonna just push it forward a tiny bit and maybe pull it towards me slightly, or lower it maybe a little. But the 3 bolts on the bottom, there's the one right there at the bottom, the rusty one, and then this one here, and then there's one on the back side. I can't really get to it, but it's kind of right down in there, in between the bracket and the brake lines. The torque on those is going to be 38. On this side, on the mount side, I did anti-seize, so they were 27. But then up on the bracket here, these two and the one below are also 38. I didn't do anti-seize on those ones, so I just went ahead and did 38 on those. Man, these lines are making it real unclear. And then this bracket back in here, see if I can get there. This bracket here, I had a lot of difficulty with it because I disconnected the bracket right there where it goes around the power steering line, and when I did that and also disconnected the screw down below, that bracket came out, and it was fun trying to figure out how to get it back in. So when you need to lift the power steering line so you can get the bracket out, which you will need to do, you're going to want to take that lower screw out down there by the mounting hole for the mount, rather than disconnecting it here. And that's the one that's the really long bolt. Excuse me. That's the one that's the really long bolt that you have to take a flat or two at a turn, mostly like a flat from down below there, and it goes into the mount right there. But it is a long bolt and a long time turning. Okay, so the mount is all in, torqued down, and supporting the engine. I did actually, to line up this bolt, I had to fiddle around a little bit. I actually had to break torque on the 3 bolts on the mount so that I could move it around a little bit so that I could line it up. And then once I got it lined up, then I torqued back the 3 bolts and then torqued the center bolt. I gotta say, after having that other one strip out on me, it was nerve-wracking torquing this bolt. I went to 83 foot-pounds, which was the lower of the 2 torque specs I could find in the service manual. On the picture it shows 98, but in the procedure it shows 83, so I went with the 83, and it's a lot of torque, 83, and I felt like the whole time it was gonna pop and strip out the threads on me, but it did not. Took the 83, and I just got to crawl up underneath and connect those couple of brackets there and tighten up a couple of other ones over here. But it is in, and it feels a lot better not having to mess with it anymore. Oh yeah, and this is the old mount. I don't know if you can really tell, but it's like it's sunk in on the bottom. The new one is basically flat across here, and this one's got a really depressed center, and it's real squishy. So I'm thinking that's an indication that this mount was either bad or going bad. So all of them look like they really needed replaced, and that makes a lot of sense with the age. So I got that bolt tightened. The bracket is up in there, and the line I got to bring down to the power steering pump, but I put that bolt back in there holding this line, and the bolt that you have to tighten is right up by the power steering pump. Cannot focus on it, but it is right up around the pulley of that, and the way that I was able to get to it was to put my feet towards the front of the car and stick my left arm up inside there, kind of facing towards the outside of the car, and I was able to get it screwed up almost all the way, but you really have to reach up and around. So with my right hand, the best I was able to do is to like feel the end of it with my fingertips. It's right back there. But my left arm, I was able to get a hold of it and turn it. And then once I got it, to where it was snug, then I wiggled the bracket around and got the bracket in a little tighter and was able to turn it more by hand. And eventually I got it to where I could crank it the last few turns with the wrench, and it's good now, I believe. I need to push that power steering line down through here and reconnect that to the power steering pump, and I don't know, probably get ready for I guess I can put up the subframe. I don't think there's really anything else I need to do except this guy here. I think that's it. Looks like it. Yay.